Check. Check. What's happening, G? Good to see you all. What's up? Fuck all, brother. I'm just, tell me if that sun's annoying. I can't really get rid of that sun, just the way the sun's positioning in the sky. Tell me if it's annoying you. I can kind of rotate. Let me see if this is a bit... Food for thought. Good to see you, bro. It gives this fake illumination on the side of the face and makes you look more shiny than you actually are. This stream is, yeah, it's staying up on YouTube. It's staying up on, if it's good enough. If I feel like the vibe is correct, I'll leave it up. You are shiny. My skin's like purging itself of all the oils, dude. Answer, pleasure to see you. Shout out to everybody who watched the last Q&A. I really appreciate it. Great questions. I just felt like it was great. You know what I mean? So shout out to all of you. What happened to the last one, man? It was really great. It's on YouTube right now. Have I thrown a frisbee yet? No. It's hanging on my next to my fridge currently. I'll get out there and throw it, man. Ishmael, I mean, I'm alright, bro. I'm doing well. What about yourself? Sorry about my thumb, I'm just trying to look at the questions. Do you have any future plans for the YouTube channel? I got no idea, to be honest with you. You know, like, I enjoy YouTube, but it's like, making a career out of YouTube, I mean, you can do it. I'm never going to say to anybody you can't make a career out of YouTube, and it's definitely, you can definitely do it, but I really enjoy my life, you know what I mean? Like, to make the content I want to make on YouTube and financially get the money out of it to live, it's not really viable all the time. It's viable some of the time. Otherwise, you have to compromise on your... I mean, the way the market is now, sometimes you might, I mean, you find yourself in positions where you have to compromise on your beliefs to excel in the current market on YouTube. I don't know, man. It's a hard question to answer, you know what I mean? But I do enjoy making videos. I do enjoy making videos, but at the same time, to make the videos I want to make, there needs to be equal parts. You need to, like, you can't be making YouTube videos all the time, man. Otherwise, your YouTube videos are just going to be the same, because you're going to be the same. Because YouTube videos are just an expression of you. You know what I mean? If YouTube, the videos are just you expressing your views, if you're constantly making them, you spend more time making them than actually absorbing reality. Do you know what I mean? So I like to live and then express whatever I want to express on YouTube. But that's not really in terms of making videos all the time and cutting through that algorithm with the consistency that you need to blow up or whatever to reach the big market. It kind of goes against that. So yeah, I mean, there's a trade-off there if you want to get into it. But for me right now, bro, like, I just enjoy training, talking to people occasionally. Yeah, it can really decrease your life quality, man. It can really because then you're out there just trying to make content all the time and you're not even just living. Do you know what I mean, bro? You're just like trying to make content all the time rather than just like enjoying your time on planet Earth. Yeah, but you get over just making it just depends, man. Steam it where it's... I've got to check out this Steam it, to be honest with you. I've got to check out where the Steam it is. But yeah. I'd feel bad doing a Patreon just because the way I make my videos, they're not really... It's not like I'm doing a video every day or providing enough content to ask people to pay for my content, you know what I mean? I wouldn't hesitate if I was making enough content for people to pay for it. I wouldn't hesitate in a second, I would definitely do it. But for me, it's like, it's just not worth it. Am I meeting any of the finishers still? No, I'm in Melbourne right now. I'm in Melbourne right now, so I don't see any of the finishers. But when I was there, you know, I was there for a few days, so I met the two dudes who came after me, Ryan Flynn and Stefan. Oh, and I met Sully. Actually, I didn't meet Rhino at the finish. I saw him the day after he finished. Did Dark Knight cut the route? Knock, knock. Or just wondering. Okay, Dark Knight did a different route. You know what I mean? I mean, it's debatable whether you think that he should have been on the tracker page. My opinion on it, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, it's a personal thing. You know what distances you're doing. You know what time you're doing the distances in. So, I'm not really fussed if someone is on the tracker page doing a different route. You know? I actually met Dark Knight on the second day. You know, on the, like, literally just as 24 hours had elapsed on the second day, I was cruising, and I kind of saw, like, you know when you're tired, man, you don't know what you see. Sometimes it feels like everything's kind of blurred, and you kind of like, is that something? Is that a tree? Is that like a red dot? One of those barriers in the distance. So I saw, like, I had like this vision, and I was like, dude, is that like a bike rider? You know what I mean? And then I got closer and closer, and then I realized, I was like, shit, dude, that's actually a dude riding a bike, man. So I got kind of excited, so I kind of chased it down for a little bit. It was kind of fun. I kind of chased this reflection of this rider down. And then I realized, I rode past this guy, and I looked at him, and it was the Dark Knight. I didn't know who the Dark Knight was, you know what I mean? But then we started having a chat, and he seemed like a cool dude, man. But I didn't see him after that. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, realistically, on that tracker page, if I was going to control that tracker page, I'd make sure that everyone on that tracker page was doing the route. You know, all these like detours, and it just kind of takes the piss out of it for everybody following the route. Even though it's not a sanctioned race or whatever you want to call it, when you take the detour, it takes the piss out of everybody who's done the route, who followed the route. And I guess that's why you're on the tracker page, because you're following the Indian Pacific wheel race route, not like I'm semi-following it, doing detours as I want to. That takes the piss out of everybody who's done it, you know what I mean? And personally, I couldn't live with myself doing detours. You know, otherwise I would just like get my own GPS, send the link to my mother, and just be on my own page called, you know, like, make my mum feel at peace, but she knows that I'm not, you know what I mean? That I'm alive, moving. So, yeah. Were you serious about shitting your pants, aka the bib? Yeah, dude. I shit my pants for a week straight, dude. And then I shit the bed. Dude, I'm not even kidding about that. Like, it was brutal. It was brutal, dude. It was so brutal. But when I say shitting my pants, man, like, that type of diarrhea, it's not that bad to shit your pants, because it's more so you're just like getting rid of liquids. You know, it's disgusting. It smells disgusting. You feel disgusting. It really doesn't feel nice, man, because you already feel dirty, you already feel stinky, you already feel like, you know, so to be shitting your pants on top of that is really uncomfortable. But it is what it is, you know, like, something I would do next time is I wouldn't even wear the bibs that come over your shoulders. I would wear the shorts, because if you're going to have those dramas where you're shitting your pants all the time, it's much easier just to have pants you can just, like, chuck off real quickly. I mean, you'd be saving time, so I'm still trying to work out a way to get around the stomach being that upset, but I've experienced it before, but I'm not sure, you know. But yeah, you're 100% right. Going without straps, 100% I'll do it without straps next time. Shout out to you, James Joyce. Have a great one. Has demand for the Glucose Network t-shirts increased? It has. You know, I have got a lot more people asking me for t-shirts. I mean, they're sitting in my room, but you know, I've got to undo the website and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've got to pay off the website, and I think it's blocked at the moment. Was it scary alone at night? In the road in the darkness? No, not really, man. I mean, there's nothing really to be worried about out there. You know what I mean? There's lots of aspects to it. Like, the first time I started training at nighttime, I'd done a lot of training at night. So I was very used to being out there in the middle of nowhere. Not in the middle of nowhere, but like, you know, in the bush at night with just with nothing other than you and some kangaroos and some insects and whatever. So you kind of learn to deal with that kind of, whatever emotions you're feeling at the time. That feeling of isolation, that feeling of like, really, I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's no one out here but me, what's going to happen? But you learn to deal with it. But I never really felt scared. I mean, what's going to really happen? I mean, you get into this mind frame of what's going to happen. It is what it is. What's going to happen is going to happen. You can't really do anything about it other than just do what you're in control of. So, God forbid something tragic happens to you in the middle of the night in the bush. I mean, you still have to, if you're adamant on riding at night, well, you're still going to have to ride at night and you can't do anything about it. Just be as safe as you can and be in control of what you can be in control of, you know? You can't really be in control of someone crazy coming out of the bush in the middle of the night. You know, I had that on training, man. I had a few times when I was training, dudes were chasing me in cars, sprinting up, you know, like the last few training sessions I had in Adelaide, some dude was trying to rob me for like these like 4 hill repeats in Adelaide. You know, I thought the dude was joking, so I kept doing the repeats, and eventually he started chasing me in his car, and 2 of these dudes tried to throw a tree at me and sprint after me on the tree, up the climb. After that, I was like, dude, I think I should go home. I don't want to get robbed and bashed and my bike stolen, you know? So you can't do anything about it. Just be smart, safe, make the best decision you can at the time. Did I wash any of my clothes on the breaks at the motel? I didn't wash any of my clothes. You know, I don't know if that would have made a difference. I think washing my body made a difference more than washing my clothes. Something I would try if I did it again would be wash the clothes and see how it feels. That kind of stuff, like, you know, washing your body, washing your clothes, brushing your teeth, just being clean, makes a big difference, man. I mean, I guess that's the other piece of the pie other than your ability to cycle for a long... That's the main thing, is your desire and ability to cycle for a long time. Do you know what I mean? But all those other pieces of the pie really do make the difference, you know, how clean you feel, how regular you feel, because you want to feel regular, you know what I mean? You don't want to feel like, yo, I'm on this epic journey stinking, miserable, or like, you just want to feel like just this is regular daily life. You just want to make the reality that you're in feel like this has just always been the reality. It's no different. So staying clean, you know, I think it's a big part of it. You know, if I had a shaver, I would have shaved, you know what I mean? I would have got a haircut if there was a quick haircut on the way. I didn't really need to because I felt like my hair wasn't growing, probably because I wasn't eating enough vitamins. But stuff like that makes a big difference. It really can't be overlooked. It's kind of priceless. Did you feel like it was reality when you were doing it? Could you ever switch off? I mean, you never really switch off. I mean, switch off... The term switch off, I mean, it depends what you mean by switch off. Switch off, like your mind switching off, I mean, you die. It's done. You're brain dead. Switch off is in your mind being stilled, which most people aren't used to, because you're just in this constant chaos of just mind chatter all day. You can't really absorb what's taking place. I felt like I could do that a lot. Until I got extremely tired. When I got extremely tired, you're kind of in a bit of a warfare with yourself. That's where your training comes into it, though. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, man. I mean, you're practicing this. You're practicing this mindset, lack of mind, whatever you want to call it, when you're training, to be able to be still and ride for long periods of time. I mean, that's really the only way you can do it enjoyably, is to really be in an immersive experience between you and nature and your bike. You have to be immersed in it. Otherwise, it's just chaotic, man. You know, you really do feel every kilometer if you're not in that space. So for months leading into it, you're training in that. You're trying to get into that space. You know what I mean? At least that's a big part of it for me, or was a part of it for me going into it. Is like. But you can practice that all the time. You can practice that doing the dishes. You can practice that going to bed. I mean, you can practice your focus, attention, immersion, whatever you want to call it, in every single practice all the time. So it's like, it all lends itself together. It doesn't start and stop on the bike. It's within everything. Do you know what I mean? Making the bike enjoyable is no different to talking to your girlfriend enjoyable. It's no different to doing the dishes enjoyable. It's no different to bending over and picking up the pencil enjoyable with 100% focus, 100% dedication, 100% go all the way with it, you know what I mean? So they all lend itself to each other, so you're always practicing it, man. It's almost like practicing and becoming a better human being and enjoying your life more is what I would tell someone to do if they were trying to ride across the country. Do you know what I mean? What should I do in my gap year? I mean, that's up to you. I can't tell you what to do in your gap year. What I did in my gap year is what I did in my gap year. You know, I didn't really do fuck all. I was in love with training at the time, so I just trained. You're different, bro. You have to work that out. Are you the heaviest cyclist in these events? You know, probably not. I mean, there's plenty of people who do it who are overweight. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of people who do it overweight. So I definitely wouldn't be the heaviest. I mean, my body weight compared to the average Joe cyclist is obese, but it doesn't really matter. Was it totally unsupported? Yeah, 100% totally unsupported. I mean, it depends what you mean unsupported. I mean, unsupported is in, there's no one out there handing you, it's not like you have a support car handing you drinks, telling you where to go, but it's supported in the sense that there's a heinous amount of support from the general public, from your family, you know, from you guys on YouTube. There's so much support, man. So to say it's unsupported is kind of a bit of a joke because there's so much support coming from everywhere, man. You can just feel the support all round. Inspirational job, Abdullah. Thank you, Luke. But I'm sure you've been asked already, but what's the overriding emotion as you rode in the Opera House? I mean, I said this before, bro. I mean, riding into the Opera House is meh. You know what I mean, dude? You don't really care about riding into the Opera House. I wasn't really excited to ride into the Opera House. You know, I was excited to see my family. I was more excited for my family to see me rock up than I was for myself to rock up because it's not that special for me to rock up, dude. It's not like you're riding out there picturing this like picturesque moment of rocking up to the Opera House because it's false. It's like a fabricated thought. Like it's never what you expect it to be, and that just comes from experience of doing things and expecting that final moment to be this euphoric feeling, and it's not. You know, so I was very aware that rocking up to the Opera House would be nothing other than the signifying moment that the journey's over. You know, and that's a bittersweet moment, man, because it's the 2 weeks in between that start point and that end point that are the most enjoyable. Those are the moments, dude, that stay with you. And those are really the euphoric, like, they're like the moments where it just makes it all worth it, you know? So those moments of deep, deep suffering, those moments of whatever they are in between those 2 points, Fremantle and the Opera House, they're the moments you enjoy the most. So rocking up was more of a celebration for my family, signified the end. And that's all it really is. Like, you see the Opera House and you're just like, whatever, dude. You know, like, you're emotionally numb at that point anyway. You're just like, what now? You know what I mean? That's what you think, like, what now, dude? Do I keep going? Do I go to bed? What am I meant to eat? You know, like, it's a real moment. I guess if you're not aware of that, you're not used to that, it can be quite traumatizing for people because they think like, yo, I thought this moment would have been more. But it's not that moment that you've been after the whole time. It's the process. It's the in between, you know. But knowing that that's how it's going to be, it's going to play out literally 100% of the time. You know, it makes it more enjoyable because you know that. So the whole time you're in the race, you realize that this is the moment, man. You're not sitting there thinking, I have to suffer now so I can have that enjoyable moment at the Opera House. You realize that this is the enjoyable moment. I'm in it currently. So it's just like, just straight, you don't have to be enjoying it, but you're appreciative of that fact that you're in the highlight of it all the time in those in-between moments, you know? I lost a lot of muscle, man. I'm not sure of the exact amount, but I lost a lot, you know? I can just tell, you know, I'm not even 2 weeks finished, right? You know, I've done 24-hour rides before, and it takes me a week in the gym to get me back to where I was before. So, I mean, to extrapolate this over like a 2 week event of just like literally, it's like a 24-hour ride every day. Dude, it's gonna take me. It would take me months. It would take me months of like no riding, overeating, consistent weight training to get back to that exact point when I was before. So right now, I still feel when I'm in the gym, I still feel like this like when you do long rides, even a day ride, you feel this central nervous system. You really feel the central nervous system just taxed, you know, especially when you're under load, because you might feel okay in daily life, but as soon as you lift a weight, man, you're shaking, you know. So I can really tell my level of recovery by those shakes in the gym because I've had it before. So right now, like when I'm in the gym, I'm not really shaking as bad as I was when I first got back into the gym. But I'm getting a bit better. I've lost a lot. It's hard to gauge. You have to really recalibrate to the exact, because the situation's always changing, man. So you have to really recalibrate to the situation you're in. Like, it's foolish of me to sit in the gym and think, oh, I need to get back to those weights I was doing before. I've probably done 11,000 kilometers this year. I'm a completely different, physiologically, I'm a completely different human being, man. So the numbers are the numbers, and that's what you have to work with. But objectively, looking at what it was before and now, I mean, it's extremely different. It's like, I'm talking like, for the Americans, it'd be like 25 pounds on a dumbbell press gone down for less reps. I'm talking that, you know, those kind of big numbers decreased in performance. But it's okay. I mean, when you don't really care about what's been done before in terms of your performance previously, and you're always adjusting to the situation, there's really no baggage, so it's just as exciting. I mean, all you're gauging is your own effort in the training session. So it's like, it's the same for me. Doing 25 pounds less, 25 pounds more, I don't really give a fuck. It's just enjoyable to put in the effort. I had a lot of Glucose Network fans. I had a lot of Dot Watchers fans. I had a lot of it. Man, like, it's weird when you're riding with people who are like a fan of what you're doing, and then like you just think like, I never thought I'd be riding with a dude with a, you know, like a full family who's like a, you know, it's just crazy people you would never expect to come out and be a fan of what you're doing, you know. Sorry if I missed your question, just keep answering it because I'm just going through what's coming at the bottom. Did you feel spaced out after riding for hours on end? Was it strange coming back to the real world after spending weeks with yourself with it solely under your control? Yeah, man, it was a challenge, man. I'm telling you, dude. You know, little things started to bug me out. Like, I went to the movies, right? You know, because what do you do when you don't know what to do? You go to the fucking movies, you know? Like, so I was at the movies, dude. And just like standing in the line was like, it was challenging for me. Like, honestly, at that point, I would have said I would rather ride 100 Ks in the mountains than stand in a movie line trying to get a drink. You know, because you just feel, I don't know, man. There's something about being in control of everything that you can be out there with nobody for so long, like, and then coming back to this, like, noisy, it's so noisy, man. Just that lack of noise to so much noise is traumatizing. You know, I felt like I was fresh out the Matrix, you know, and Neo's like coming out, he's like back in the real world, and he's like, he can't handle it, and he's like hyperventilating, and he throws up and shit. That's how I'm not even lying, that's how I legitimately felt. Just the noisiness and the amount of people and just bodies around me, I was just like, man, whoa. And I was in Sydney, man. Sydney's so busy. Like, it's not the place you want to go from nothing to that. It's like 0 to 2 million in terms of just like nothing to everything so quickly. But it probably took me a few days to adjust, man. I spent a lot of time in the hotel room and laying in bed and just relaxing, and I'm still doing that. You know, I'm still doing that. You know, even right now, dude, my desire to do things is just like so minimal. But, you know, I don't know how long it would take to feel, I don't even want to say 100%, but to just, I'm not sure how to word it to you. Like, I would just say even now my desire to do things is less. I'm not upset about it. I don't really care about it. It's just a part of the process, I guess. And you just enjoy to learn. You just learn to enjoy the moments where seemingly nothing's happening, but a lot's happening at the same time, you know. So I'm okay with a bit of reflection, downtime on the couch, because I equally know there's going to be moments where, you know, you're in it, like the race, so it's okay. How vascular did you get, bro? I didn't get that vascular, man. You become deflated, bro. You know, vascularity is like a large portion of just being lean, being hydrated, things like that. You know, like if I had a salty meal, ate a shit ton of carbs, I'd be more vascular than if I was like lower body fat, glycogen depleted, no salt, you know, those kind of things. So I'm telling you, bro, I didn't get that lean, man. I lost a lot of muscle, man. I got more skinny fat, dude. You know, I got more skinny fat. Like, body fat's primed for survival. You know what I mean? You're primed for survival. The body fat's just there to survive. Muscle doesn't help you survive. You know what I mean? So when you're in that situation, I can guarantee the body's just like, yo, we're burning through this muscle before we burn through this fat on your ass. You know what I mean? So it's not exactly what you think it'd be. Like, you probably get more lean just doing a 1 hour effort at a high, you know, at a high intensity and just eating moderately than you would doing a race across the country. I mean, this is the dad bod transformation. I mean, you look at anybody who does this shit, unless they're clinically obese, they just get like a dad bod. Would I do the Indy Pack again? 100%. You didn't get crazy leg veins? No way, man. My legs were swollen like a tree stump. My legs were fatter during the race than they were before the race. You know? Why wasn't Jesse there to meet you in Sydney? I mean, why would he be there to meet me in Sydney, bro? You know? How are you so motivated? I'm not really motivated. I wouldn't, if I thought about myself, I wouldn't classify myself as a highly motivated guy. What keeps you in the gym after everything? I mean, it's just the consistency, it's the habit. You know, after training for so many years, you realize the kind of impact it has on your life and how it kind of shapes the way you operate and the benefits it has, man. So it's very easy for me to go back because I just know the benefits. And then there's all those other things, like it just being a straight habit, you know what I mean? For so long, it just becomes a habit and part of daily life. You know, so, yeah. Shout out to you, Matt Reich, I appreciate it. Have you been sleeping longer now? I wouldn't say, obviously I've been sleeping longer than I was on the race. I've been relaxing more, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I've been sleeping more in bed, but I'm definitely in bed for a lot longer than I was before or after. Do you know what I mean? Just the relaxation, more than anything. Are you kidding me about not being motivated? Why are you so humble, dude? You know, I don't really even look at myself. I don't look at myself and then classify words like humble, motivated, all these kind of things. I don't even think about it like that. But it's just the truth, man. Like, if I was going to look at it objectively, I don't know what this thing you think about motivated is. I mean, it's not like I wake up and think like, I'm going to crush life today. I'm going to do this and this. It's just these are all little things you just build on. They're just habits. Like, it's not like I wake up in the morning and think, yo, like I'm going to go train at the gym. It's just like it becomes like putting on your shoes after a certain amount of time. I've been practicing discipline for years, man. For years. I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it's the truth. I've been practicing daily discipline for years. Even since I was 15, I've been practicing it. You know, so I've got so many years of practicing daily discipline without fault that riding across the country for me is just simple. It's just as simple as just exercising that discipline. That's all it is. There's nothing more special to it. You know, like, over such a long journey of just exercising discipline, you realize that how you feel it doesn't even matter, man. Because, like I said, man, the mind plays tricks on you all the time. The mind plays tricks on you all the time. It's just trying to play it safe 90% of the time, especially if you're untrained. So you wake up, you don't want to do anything, you still do it anyway, and you just learn how to operate in that realm where it's like you don't even listen to your mind no more. Have you become even more appreciative of life undertaking Indy Pack? Yeah, 100% I have been. You know, like on the Indy Pack for me, I was very appreciative of the fact, number one, that I had the fitness to be able to do it. And then I was also appreciative of the fact that I had the fitness and the discipline to be able to do it and do it quickly and be at the front. I was very appreciative of that. Once I realized that was what was happening, and I was at the front, and I felt pretty strong. I was so like in awe of what was taking place, and I was so appreciative of the fact that I was in that position, because not everyone's in that position to be at the front, be driving the pace at the front. Not everyone's in that position, man. So you have to really be able to sit back and say, wow, this is amazing. I'm so appreciative of the fact that I have this fitness and this physical capability. And you really do gain. I mean, it's a real transformation of experience. You become really more life sensitive, man. You know what I mean? Living in just like daily life, you become insensitive to life in a sense. Like things, you become desensitized. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, dudes, you might get 100 compliments a day, you don't think anything of it. Dudes might send you a message, you don't think anything of it. People might smile at you, you don't think anything of it. You might see a tree, you don't think anything of it. You might, these seemingly, well, not seemingly, these things that seemingly to you seem like nothing, they're actually magical. So being out there and being removed from your regular situation for so long, you really do get resensitized to life a bit more, and gain that sensitivity back, where the smallest gestures really do have a high impact on you. Like, it's a nice feeling to be that sensitive when someone can smile at you and it could bring you to tears. In regular life, dude, someone might smile at you and you'd be like, what the fuck? You'd be like, what are you looking at? When you're out there, dude, and you're so sensitive and you're operating on such a high level of connection, a dude can literally send you a message, it can bring you completely to tears and overwhelmed with joy that someone is showing you so much love. So, I mean, that's rare. Like, that's rare to feel usually. So you do really gain appreciation for that. And that's really the exciting thing of it, man. Is like, you see life like on this completely different level of colors. It's like going from black and white to seeing colors for the first time. Like, everything seems amazing. Drinking feels amazing, eating feels amazing, chatting feels amazing, relaxing feels amazing, breathing feels amazing. All these things feel amazing, If how you feel doesn't matter, then isn't that negative, man? No, not really. What do you mean, isn't that negative? How you feel, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, so many people waste so much time trying to be negative and positive. It's just a fickle fucking energy wasting exercise to sit there and think, I need to be positive, I need to be positive, I need to be positive. For every positive, there's an equal part negative. It doesn't even matter. Do you know what I mean? It's more important to understand why your mind is doing that than it is to think like, I need to be positive, I need to be negative. I guarantee you, I'll put you in the middle of the desert for 2 weeks. It's not going to be all positive, man. And it doesn't really matter if it's positive or negative. So it's more so, for me at least, I'm only speaking from my experience, it's more so important to understand the nature of your mind than it is to try and dictate it in what direction it's always going in. But sometimes you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to do it. But luckily for you, my friend, I mean, there's more aspects to you than just your mind. If you were just purely flesh, then your mind would be a big deal. But at least in my experience, there's more going on than just your mind operating. And you're not really a slave to it. So it doesn't really matter if it's positive or negative. And that's also probably something you've experienced all the time but not paid attention to. Like, you could look at me and have the most evil thought, and at least for me, I've had that all the time. You might go down the street and have the most evil thought looking at somebody, but it's just a thought. That's all it is. It's really meaningless until you put it into action anyway. It's not even a reality, it's just a thought. Your mind's always trying to make sense of situations all the time. And if it making sense of the situation all the time was reflected in your actions, then I'd be in jail. You on EPO. You're a retard, dude. Out of all this shit, you're asking the most dumb fucking questions. What foods did you eat? Chips, chocolate? How did you maintain a vegan lifestyle at servos? I mean, it was hard, but I was eating crisps, I was eating drinks, I was eating lollies, stuff like that. It was a lot more hard along the desert. When I got into the cities, man, they got a lot more options. You got a lot more bars, you got a lot more different types of chips, you got hot chips. There's a lot more hot food. You know, I was eating a lot of potato cakes. I mean, people are going to say, it's 100, I'm not sure if 100% you can classify a potato cake as a vegan option. I mean, it's hard to tell. But I did my best, man. I honestly did my best, so I'm happy with it. Let me block this dude real quick. Stupid ass, man. What PSI did I run in the tires? What did you use? I'm not sure what PSI did I run in the tires. I had 2 different tires. I had a real old tire on the front, which lasted the whole way. I had like this Maxxis, I think it's a Relic or something. I trained on that. So I'd done 11,000 kilometers on this front tire and didn't get one puncture. You know, I had a GP 4000 on the back and I had to change it. I had to change it because it ended up getting holes in it. So it's not something I really paid attention. Like, I think I had a 23 or 24. I had the slimmest tire on the back and the kind of, I think like 28 on the front. I'm not even sure, man. The details I didn't pay attention to. You probably should pay attention to them and get a long durability tire, a tire with so much durability. But Maxxis have good puncture resistance. Yeah, I know they're not the most. I know they're not the most like race tire, but I mean, I think sitting there and changing a tire, you know, if you have a race tire, you know, like that time you spend changing tires, putting new tubes in, you know, versus having something more durable, that kind of difference is made up there. And it's just nice to know, like, have the confidence that like you have a good tire and it's not going to really puncture that easily, even if it's a bit slower. I'd rather just get a bit more fit. Do you feel these carbon bikes are overrated by some guys doing the ride? Had some pretty high-end bikes. I mean, the bike, you know, you just need a good functioning bike, man. I do like Big Pun, by the way. You need a good functioning bike. You need a reliable bike. You need a bike that you enjoy riding, that's comfortable. You know, the bike fit's probably more important than the bike itself, as long as the bike meets the standard of just like being durable. I mean, I would say, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a high-end bike. I mean, there's a reason why dudes at the top in elite cycling have high-end bikes. And it works, and those little, you know, minute gains in performance from having a high-end bike are maximized by the fact that these dudes don't have a problem with riding hard. So for me, I wouldn't even mind getting a high-end bike as long as I thought that my ability to ride long for the amount of hours was there. If I felt like I still lacked the ability to have the discipline to ride 18 hours a day, then I wouldn't get a high-end bike. I would work out how can I ride those hours and get fitter before I even thought about getting a high-end bike. But I guess once you've maximized, which I doubt anyone really has, the amount they can ride per day, then having a high-end bike, it's a feasible thing. That's something I was very conscious of, is I didn't want to spend, you know, the few months leading into the race thinking about what tech to get. If I was going to think about what tech to get, I was going to think about it in the last 2 weeks. I mean, these days, you know, with shipping and all this bullshit, and the speed at which you can get products and reviews, and, you know, like, it's such a helpful community. Like, I don't even worry about what kit to use except on the bike. You know, I was aware that I wanted to train with all my kit on the bike. But I mean, all the, you know, the GPS and the lights and all that kind of stuff, like, I don't even worry about it to the last minute, man, in terms of like getting it, putting it on, having it in my possession, because, you know, I don't want to worry about that when I'm training, man. I mean, the small details, like, the details are so, like, they're big, but they're small at the same time. They're heavily outweighed by your ability to ride for long periods of time. You know? So, So the gear is only a small part of it. You know, like if you're still stuck and if you still can't ride more than 200 k's a day after a week, which is still a huge amount to ride every day, but I'm saying like if you had ambitions to go more than that and you find yourself struggling, then the gear doesn't do anything. It's not going to hold your hand. Do you think someone could do the Indy Pack with a $1,000 budget and they can buy all the equipment at Kmart? They would. Yeah, of course they could. I'm not going to say you can't do that. You could. I mean, would it be a challenge? 100%. Buying all the kit, all the gear, being able to eat sufficiently, that would definitely be a challenge, but you could do it. We're all grown up with the idea of maintaining a positive mindset because our mindset is the lens that we see the world with. If everything is neutral, then doesn't that take the beauty out of the life? Not really. I mean, that's a great fucking question, by the way. That's a great question out the way. But, I mean, there's several aspects to it. And let me just reread the question. Let me think about it for a sec. Maintaining a positive mindset. What I'm trying to get through to you is that you don't need to maintain a positive mindset to progress. Progressing is just a simple form of, is a function of actions, especially in terms of fitness. It's not about being positive all the time. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you're wasting energy trying to be positive. You know, and you probably experienced this when you're feeling like you can't be positive. You spend half the time worrying about how you're not positive, and that makes you think negative. Like you're sitting there thinking like, why am I having these thoughts? Why am I having these thoughts? And you can't even get you just get stuck in this paradigm of just like overthinking. Do you know what I mean? So all right, I'll see you soon. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes your mind, like what I'm trying to say is, if the mind is the place in where everything is perceived and that creates your reality, how do I say this, man? How do I say this? I mean, I'm trying to say through experiences, the mind will leave you 9 times out of 10 in a shit situation, unless you're extremely trained through whatever technique you want to say, meditating, any form of training. It betrays you a lot of the time. A lot of the time. Especially under stress, it does betray you. And if you can't disconnect from that, then you're going to have trouble operating. Do you know what I mean? Because it's foolish to think that you're going to have this rock hard, solid, positive mindset every day. And if what you need to do requires you to do something every day to improve, then you can't rely on your mind to be able to carry you through. Do you know? So sometimes you have to ditch it completely. And what you're saying with positivity, I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but most of the time people talk to me about positivity, they're talking about this fickle level of just like a chemical reaction in their brain. They're talking about a spike in dopamine. They're talking about some bullshit like that. They're not talking about long-lasting appreciation, long-lasting peace, long-lasting, this peaceful view on reality, this peaceful feeling deep down. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about 4 shots of coffee, they just beat off in the shower, and now they're walking down the street and they're like, I feel amazing. They just listen to Eminem, they feel amazing. It's so chemical and it's so limited, you know? So trying to understand how to operate beyond that, you know, can leave you with a long-lasting feeling of peace. It's hard to explain, man. You know, it's a hard one to explain. I'm struggling to explain it, to be honest with you. You know, but it becomes different when you don't worry about these thoughts no more. It becomes different, man. Do you know what I mean? Because it's almost like you're having an internal dialogue all the time. You know, like there's multiple parts of you being torn between good, bad, positive, negative. You think one thing, 2 seconds later you have another thought saying that's not correct, that's not true. So trying to learn how to navigate that is a tough one. It's I don't even use the word happiness. For me, happiness isn't like it's a term I ditched a long time ago. Just because I was brought up on this idea of just like, like getting to happiness, and it was going to be something where like this mystical thing, like suddenly you open the door and then now you're able to receive this happiness. So I really ditched the term happiness a long time ago. And I realized like maintaining an adequate level of peace, contentment, great word, Zen 1, contentment, it was something I was able to tap into and able to have all the time. It was always within me. My ability to maintain a level of peacefulness and contentness with the situation, I was always in control of that. This like fake idolized, open the door and there's this like glowing bowl of happiness that you can only receive if you go through you go through these steps like a video game to receive it, which you never really receive. It's always a step in front of you. You're never really going to have it. I gave up on it because it was just too hard to achieve. It was just too hard to get to. And it's false and it's fabricated. I mean, you learn that really quickly just by doing something and then not feeling this the way you thought it was going to feel when you got there. So I mean, these are big topics. Like, they're not really easy to talk about we're talking about the topics that, these are the questions of existence itself. Who am I? What's the point? How do I feel good? They're very, big topics, So, but even in terms of getting ready for a bike race, I would address these topics months before because they're going to come up. They're going to come up on a long bike ride. I mean, you're going to literally get stripped down to the bare minimum, where these topics are going to be some of the most limiting factors in terms of if you can't address them or think about them, then you're not going to be able to progress. If you're already at peace and contentment in life, why do you try and progress at all? I think you're getting complacent mixed with contentment. They're two different things. Being complacent and being content is two different things. Contentment is a different ball game it's on the next level, dude. Complacent is like you have no respect for life and you think you're hot shit. That's complacent. Complacent is like you think you know shit, you're arrogant, you think you're sick, you're not going to do anything no more. That's complacent. When you're content, it's completely different. I mean, we're operating on a level where we have so much motherfucking appreciation for life, and it's so out of this world that if you think you know what's happening, you've lost. You're retarded. Okay, you think you know it's the end of you. The smartest minds in the world only got to the point right before they died where they could say to themselves, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So that's the area we operate in. So it's like you're under such a mystical, like you're just in such bombardment by the situation that it's like, why not? That becomes why not. Like you're trying to maximize it. You're trying to do everything because it's so amazing. You know what I mean? Like it's so out there. Complacent is like it's like low level, man, being complacent. Content is like the highest level. Content is like, I think about it in terms of humility. You're humbled by the experience. You're really humbled by it. And you want to partake in it. And you want to partake in it. That's the biggest thing. You want to partake in it. So you're content in knowing that the goal of being a human is to be appreciative of being a human and trying to experience your life by trying to excel in everything you do. It kind of makes sense, bro. And to be honest with you, before I address any topic about something so profound like life its fucking self, I'm going to say I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. And that's what's great about it, is I don't know. And the point is that you give it the point, man. The point is that the meaning is the meaning you give it. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you're living out your own reality, perceiving life with your own mind, heart, whatever you want to call it, and you determine the meaning. So my meaning might be different to your meaning. Do you know what I mean? But for me, my personal meaning is the point of life is life itself. It's meant to be. It's just to experience life. You know what I mean? At the highest level of awareness that you can possibly achieve within a lifetime. And the point of excelling at everything you do is just being so humbled by life that you want to partake in everything, and then you realize that you have to maximize this opportunity. Like, you have been given the ultimate opportunity. That's life itself. There's not many animals out there that are self-aware to the point that they realize that they're alive. Unfortunately, for most of us human beings, you will operate on such a low fucking level that you will operate every day and you won't even sit there to think, oh my God, I've been alive this whole time. It sounds like funky, but it's the truth. You know, most people only get to a certain age where they sit there and they go, damn, dude, I've actually been alive this whole time. I never actually realized. And they finally feel that feeling of like, dude, I'm actually alive. What the fuck? It doesn't make sense. It might take people 40 years, 50 years, you know, to feel that feeling. So the point is the experience itself. And then the humility bit and all those other, that bit where you're so humbled by the experience, is that's when you realize that if there's an opportunity, why wouldn't you take it? And if you're going to take that opportunity, why wouldn't you go all in? Why wouldn't you give it your best? That's all you can do, is give it your best within the experience. So that's how I view it. It might not be how you view it, but that's how I view it. So for me on the Indie Pack, it's like, how can I not, if I have the thought and I agree with the thought and I've kind of understood why I'd want to partake in it, why wouldn't I do it? And then why wouldn't I take the opportunity? And then when I have the opportunity, why wouldn't I give it my best effort? Do you know what I mean? That's something I can't live with, the fact of doing it and not giving my best effort. I can't do that, man. There's no point for me. I'm not going to go do 30%. I have to give my best effort throughout every single situation that comes up, throughout every single second. You know, so that's how I think about it. I've changed my views on what is important in life since I was diagnosed with incurable brain cancer. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. When you're in a stressful moment, and you tell yourself to give your best effort, do you have a voice that comes up in your head that doubts yourself and giving you your best? Of course, but that's just a reactionary response from your mind. If you're in a stressful situation, the mind's trying to promote life, like in the sense that it wants to survive. That's its function, man. It's trying to achieve this homeostasis all the time. It just wants you to live. So if you're in a stressful situation and you're a slave to your mind, then you're always going to be dealing with this level of doubt. Do you know what I mean? So it's normal. Once you realize it's normal, it's not even a thing for you no more, dude. Because you're going to be in a stressful situation and your mind's going to say, I can't. And you're going to say, of course it's saying I can't. I mean, what do you think your mind's going to tell you when you have a 170 heart rate and you're in the middle of nowhere? Do you think it's going to be like, yeah, you fucking let's keep going? I mean, it might if you're extremely trained. But for most of us, it's the first thing to go. It gets to a point where it goes, I can't do this no more. And of course you can't do it no more. That's the whole point. I can't do this no more. You have to go above. And if you can't go above, then you're always going to be stuck at that level where you're never really maximizing your potential, because to go above, there's a level of truth you need to accept, and then you need to go beyond. And that's the fact that as soon as I can't do it, you go, I know I can't do it, but there's a part of me that can do it. And until you're ready to lose that I, you will never get there. Do you know what I mean? It goes from being, you know, this limited source of temporary power, which is the I, to this infinite source of power, which is above the I. And that's hard for anyone to really understand unless you experience it. Do you know what I mean? And until you experience that bit where you go beyond the point of I, especially, because that's the first thing to leave. You know what I mean? That's the first thing to leave you. As soon as your heart rate and shit goes like that, you start saying things like, I can't do this, I don't know why I'm here. Until you dissolve that I, you never go beyond. You never go beyond. So, you know, you're always going to be limited. Even if you can have that the most amazing performance, because you're extremely genetically gifted and you've done a lot of training, you'll never be able to maximize it. At least that's how I look at it. You know, it's sad that we have people like this rusty old pump that leave comments like this. I mean, we're talking about some big topics, and you're talking about performing in hard trunks. I guarantee you couldn't ride for more than 1 minute or 2 minutes. Do you know what I mean? It's just sad that there's people out like you wasting your time creating an account with a fake name to leave. Like, it's like, dude, I'm sure there's better energy that you can spend. Do you know what I mean? Than getting obsessed with our live stream. I is the root of all evil. The world's problems can be traced back to ego. 100% agree with the doula. You know, the eye isn't necessarily a bad thing, dude, but it can become a bad thing, and you have to notice the trappings of the eye. Do you know what I mean? You have to notice the trappings of you and how they can trap you all the time. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, you need that eye because it kind of gives you a sense of direction in this world a little bit. You know what I mean? And it's something you can't really escape from. I mean, you have a name. You have these things that are sometimes unwillingly put on you, you know, but it's just a part of the world we operate in. Like, you need a name. You need a name. But you can take it to a level which is just completely unnatural. Have I said my name into the mirror much lately? I have not said my name into the mirror too much lately, bro. I mean, it's been great, you know, being out there for so long. Like I said, man, the whole sense of who you are dissolves anyway. So it's like great, you know what I mean? Like, it's refreshing to hear your name because you go, oh fuck, that's me, you know, which is nice to be in a spot like that where you kind of forget. You kind of like being out there for so long. It's like it feels like you're observing more than, it just feels like you're observing it all. You know? And that's cool. It's a fortunate experience, you know what I mean? To feel like that. I mean, you're right, man. I mean, nothing's really inherently bad, you know. Obviously, there's stuff that is bad, but I mean, stuff like that, and your sense of who you are, and your place in the world, and me, and Abdullah, and the YouTube, and all this kind of bullshit. I mean, it's how you use it. What you do with it. What's next on the horizon? And do you have to ground yourself and start again? You know, I'm not too hell-bent on trying to find something to do straight away. You know, it's all a part of the process. You know, I feel like there might be an opportunity with ultra endurance and cycling. I feel like there might be an opportunity there. You know, just because on a physical standpoint, like I don't know how to say this the right way, but it's like, I like the way this event made people feel. And I like the fact that it gave me a voice beyond the voice I had before in terms of reach. Now, it might not seem like it did, but for me personally, like if I have someone who's got like 4 kids waiting for me to give me something and is like interested in what I have to say just because I rode my bike a certain level of distance, I feel like it would be a disservice for me to cut that connection off. You know what I mean? To cut that opportunity off. Like, I love that opportunity. And if all I have to do is train and have the discipline to ride a long distance so I can have that conversation with somebody, you know, how could I do that, bro? Do you know what I mean? There's probably a large percentage of you watching now that probably would not take what I said as seriously if I didn't have that performance. And that's just the fact of the matter, man. You know, that's just the reality of it. So looking at that reality of what's taking place, looking at what's taking place, you know, I just feel like there could be an opportunity there where it's like, dude, all I got to do is train and ride far, and then suddenly someone who has ambitions in the same sport could potentially hear what I have to say, and it might be able to do something. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's exciting to me. It's exciting to me. So, you know, it might be something that I try. It might be something that I try. What do you think happens when you die? Oh, man, that's a big question. I mean, I don't think I could perceivably understand what happens when you die. I mean, that's like one of the questions of all time, is like, where do you go when you die? So I'm not sure. I mean, you have theories, but ultimately I'll never know until I die. And then when I die, am I going to be conscious of what's happening? And who knows? You might not be. So, I mean, they're just beliefs until they get put into an experience, you know what I mean? Until it's a tangible thing. But ultimately, in my belief, it's in my idea of looking at it, it's something I don't really think about too much, you know what I mean? I mean, it's definitely a piece of living that a life that I'm excited to go through, and find out. I'm like excited to see the curtains get pulled back, and you kind of go, "Wow, that's what it was." Kind of the last bit of the question that the answer to is finally, it's finally answered. Like the tip of the thing on the tip of your tongue, but you can't say, like it's there, but you're trying so hard to say it, but you can't say it. I'm excited for that to be revealed, but ultimately, that'll get revealed when it's meant to get revealed. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. For me, it's just there's just a deep feeling of just feeling that there's something more to it than what you see. I mean, for me, I feel like that's evident. That there's more going on than what you see. If you see with your eyes, you see with your mind. You're always limited to what's out there. And I think as humans, we get brief moments of that. We get brief moments of deep connection and stuff that goes way beyond what we think we are all the time. We're just oblivious to them. And, I'm excited to find out. I mean, we'll find out when we're meant to find out. Coming from a powerlifting background, you could transition to track. I was never really that good at lifting weights, man. Like, I've been good at lifting weights, like if I was going to look at it from a genetic standpoint, I would definitely say that I'm better for going long than I am for being anaerobic. You know what I mean? So me on the track is not what you'd expect. Me on the track would be really bad, So if I was going to choose what I would genetically slide to in terms of anaerobic work or aerobic work, it would be aerobic. Did I learn about how to prep for this ride by doing it last year? No, not really. My preparation was just it was a combination of everything I had learned about cycling, lifting weights, spirituality, mentality, all these. It was a combination of all of that and everything I had done before and what I wanted to try. It was all of that just meshed together, you know what I mean? And I was just applying it all together. So because when you watch it, you don't learn how to prepare. When you watch it, you kind of reverse engineer it. You see what the performance is, and then you go, okay, this is the performance that I'm trying to achieve. Let me try and reverse engineer it to where I can achieve this performance, But it's kind of hard to read up. It's not something that I feel like it's kind of a gray area in the sense that it's like, you can't really talk to many people where they're going to say to you, okay, like, let's engineer how you can go for that long. If we're talking about day races, we're talking about multi-day stage races that last for 4 or 5 hours a day. There's plenty of probably literature out there on how you can do that. But if we try to find the equal amounts of information on ultra endurance, I'm talking ultra. I mean, these kind of events are so fucking out there when you think about it, man. We're talking about, people look at Ironman as the pinnacle of endurance, you know what I mean? And we're talking about a one-day event. Events like this, and IndyPac is just one of the many out there that's crazy. There's probably a lot that are more crazy. But these are multi-week events for the quick people. For the quickest. We're still talking a couple of weeks, man. I mean, I don't know what the transcontinental is, but we're talking about over a week. of like literally 95% of your time is moving. So to find information on that, I'm not sure, man. I really couldn't find that much information for it. So you kind of have to just engineer a plan that you think is going to work best. And I mean, you can't escape the training, man. I mean, the training's the bread and butter. You can't really escape it. You know what I mean? I think to go for a long time, I mean, you have to practice going for a long. You have to actually do that in training. Like you have to go out for a long. So there's a big time commitment, man. It's not like doing a 15-minute hill climb. You know, I've trained for that before, and the time commitment is grossly less. Grossly less. Like if you're just trying to get your FTP up and go up a climb fast, the time commitment is like, oh my god, dude. The time commitment is way less. Do you know what I mean? It's so little compared to what at least for me, when I was doing that, it was like a quarter of what I did to feel like I was getting ready to do the Indy Pack. Like a quarter, dude. Like my best 20-minute power was done on like 200 kilometers a week. Just an effective 200 kilometers a week. Effective. Maybe even 150. Off the back of doing more kilometers though. But you know what I mean? It was real, just like boom, 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 effective efforts, non-efforts, whatever you want to call it. It was just effective. So this was like, man, 4 times the amount sometimes. 4.5 times the amount sometimes. In terms of distance and hours. I mean, I don't really do distance, I would do hours. Because distance is kind of like, you know, you can have a tailwind. Hours is like, you know, when you're doing hours, you're like, this was a solid hour of work. It's probably the only time, like you're looking at time. You're really conscious of it. So, I mean, getting ready for it was a learning experience, at least for me. But I don't think you can replace time in the seat. There's just an adaptation that you make when you sit in the seat for a long time. Even on a level that you're just comfortable, your ass is comfortable. You know, your ass is just more, like, you know what I mean? You're not gonna go out there and just think, oh my God, like you're not gonna do 9 hours and then your ass is gonna hurt. Because you've done several 9-hour stints and your ass is fine. The first few times it will hurt, but I mean, like, those are things you don't really have to deal with. And they're only brought about by doing time in the seat. Arse adaptation is the biggest issue. I mean, it is a big issue, man, because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Once you start feeling uncomfortable, you start wasting energy thinking about why am I uncomfortable? How can I fix this? You start stopping, putting the cream on. I mean, I didn't use 1 mil of this cream, of this chamois cream. I didn't use 1 mil of it. So how did an Indy Pack compare to the Melbourne to Adelaide relative to your performance at the time? I think physically the Indy Pack ride compared to the Melbourne to Adelaide ride, I was in way better shape for the distance. I mean, the Indy Pack ride, I had done 3 months of consistent training. I'd never done that before, really, specifically for the ride. So I was in way better physical shape. I mean, I was in way better shape in all aspects. Physically, mentally, I was in better shape. Spiritually, I was in better shape. So it really was just all those things combined together that really helped my performance along the way. It was much more effortless. I had way more less roadblocks I had to deal with. Do you know what I mean? Way less. Are my legs back to normal? Not really. I went for a quick little, the last couple of days I've done like 2, 3, 4, 5K rides. So the bike feels funny, but they kind of feel a bit tendon-wise. Like tender as in like they kind of feel a bit soft in terms of just my ligaments and tendons, all that kind of shit, but they'll get back to normal soon. A human cold tanner, that's a great question about your lower back. I mean, shouts to you for doing a 112-mile ride. That's quite a lot. That's quite a big bike ride. I'm not sure, man. I mean, it could be a multitude of things. I mean, you could have a weak core. You could have a weak lower back. Your bike fit could be off. It could just be a big ride for you, and those muscles are getting strained because you're not used to it. So it could be any of those things, man. It's hard to tell. I mean, you really just have to look at your position. And if a 112-mile 12 miles is a big distance relative to what you've been doing. Sometimes it just hurts because it's a big ride. Best gear for riding in the rain. I'm not the person to ask for best gear. But I would say a waterproof jacket. Is it weird now when you think back and realize that certain events in the years that were starting to the IPL journey? Yeah, it is weird, but it's not weird in the sense that, like if you were just being observant, if you're just being observant, like then every single situation is preparing you for the next situation. I wouldn't sit back and look at it like this is preparing me for the next thing, but you just realize how like every situation teaches you something and then you bring those lessons to the next situation. I mean, if you're unobservant and you're just walking around with your eyes shut and your blinkers on, then you'll never really learn. You'll be getting stuck in the same situations, and you'll always be moving through the situation at the same level, and you're always going to be getting the same result. But if you were aware of the lessons that you can extrapolate from any situation and how you move through it as a human being, then they all lend itself to each other, you know what I mean? They all lend itself to each other. So everything's always leading into the next thing, and it's always... So if someone asks me how long I've been preparing for the Indie Pack, I say my fucking whole life, dude. You know what I mean? If someone asks me if I go to a training session right now and you ask me how long you've been preparing for this training session, I say my whole life. Because everything has its place, and nothing happens for no reason. And I mean, that's up to you to decide if it happens for no reason or not. But if you learn something from something, then there's obviously a point to it. And it's just that mindset of being a student consistently. If you're the student consistently, then there's always lessons to be learned. So it's ultimately like you're operating in the ultimate classroom all the time, which is an exciting thing because you can always learn and there's always lessons to be learned. Yeah, man. I mean, you become the ultimate student. You're like an eternally a student with your time here. I mean, for your time here, you're always a student. And I think that lends itself to being, the level of humility when you sit back and you look at it, you know what I mean? Because you're always just like, you never think that you know. You never think that you know it all. You never really think that you have a grip on it, so you're always trying to understand more, understand more, understand more. I asked before, but who inspires you? I think everyone inspires me, man. I think I'm inspired by everybody. I'm inspired by not just one single person. I mean, I can look at my life and just think, yeah, no, my mum inspires me, my grandma inspired me, my sister inspires me, my girlfriend inspires me. But I just think, I think I'm inspired by a lot of people, man. A lot of people, man. Like, it's just not one person. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not just purely inspired by someone doing a seemingly extremely tough physical task. It can be the smallest thing that inspires me. Someone just trying to improve inspires me. A mum looking after a child inspires me. Do you know what I mean? Someone sweeping the streets, giving it their all inspires me. Someone who smiles at me inspires me. So the littlest things can inspire me, man. Someone just trying to understand their life inspires me. I never get inspiration from negative people. I mean, kind of. I get inspiration in the sense that, like, if I'm thinking about negative people, I get inspiration in the sense that there's still a major problem with human beings. If I see someone grossly negative, kind of disrespecting their opportunity at life by being so negative and with their eyes shut, and they're just like, you know what I mean, living on the lowest level, it inspires me to think that, damn, dude, there's still people out there suffering at the mercy of their own hand. Do you know, and these dudes aren't in Somalia, these dudes aren't in Uganda, these dudes aren't in Syria suffering. These dudes are literally at home with seemingly all the best situation in terms of living standards, and they're still suffering at their own cost, not at the cost of some merciless fucking warlord, from themselves. You know what I mean? So when I see that, it kind of makes me think like, fuck, dude. There is a huge problem. There's still a huge problem going on, man. And still dudes aren't even awakened to the fact that they're alive. And they're just disrespecting their time here. And I mean, it's tragic. And it makes you think like, you know, you have to be better, man. And you don't look at the people in a negative way, think, oh, you're a piece of shit. You look at it and think, dude, this is fucking sad. This is quite a sad, this sad person. Do you know what I mean? Like, he really doesn't see what's going on at all. And partially you think to yourself, like, this guy's like believed it too much, man. You know, his mind's trying to make sense of the situation so much he's believed his own shit too much. You know what I mean? So it kind of invigorates you to be better and to if you can have an effect on other people, make sure it's a good effect. Is there any specific mistakes you made during the IPWR that you would do again if you did? Okay. I didn't make, you know, like, it's hard to... I did the best I could at the time. So I would... There's things that I learned from the race that I would definitely do differently. I'm just trying to understand the question in my own head. But they're more things of, like, putting more sunscreen on. Zip tie cutters, correct. Taking better care of my lips. Things like that ultimately make a huge difference, you know. So bringing lip balm to protect my lips would be huge. That's huge. I would, like, you know what I mean? I can't believe I didn't even do that, you know what I mean? Just because my lips were so cut up by the end that I was having trouble eating food. And, you know, food's really, I mean, it's what gets you across the country in terms of that, you know, that food, it's the fuel, you know. So if you're having problems eating, it's a huge deal. If you have to sit there and kind of like maneuver chips in your mouth, you're wasting time. If you had good lips, like, you could just go boom and you'd be fine. You wouldn't even have to think about it. And then it becomes even more of an issue because you think, like, the biggest thing the lips hurt with is when you eat salt. Now, if you're in hot weather sweating all the time and you need salt and you can't eat salt because your lips are all banged up, I mean, that's a major issue. So that's something I definitely would make sure that I had down pat next time I would do something like this, is lip care. Lip care. Sun care, you know. Just if you once you overheat, man, you're toasted, man. Like, once your body goes beyond a certain temperature, it's just hard to bring it back down, especially if you're consistently exposed to the sun. So making sure the whole body in the sun, man, it's not about getting a tan, it's about being covered up and being protected so you can protect your performance. You know, once you're exposed, the performance just goes, you're just fighting an uphill battle, man. Luckily, we didn't have that bad heat, but I've experienced it before in 43-degree heat. Like, once the body goes over a certain temperature, it becomes hard to eat. No amount of water, no amount of fluids will revitalize you other than time inside under an aircon, cooling down. And that's just, you can't afford that. Yeah, vegan fly trap, I was pretty toasted. But I was, you know, like, I was definitely toasted. But, I was toasted, bro. But I guarantee you I would have been more toasted if I wasn't wearing arm covers. And my legs got pretty toasted, I'll tell you that. But I would look into a way of being able to cover my legs that didn't really make me hot. I guess like the arm covers, but for the legs, just the sun protection, man. Whew, man, the sun is just like the killer, man. You know, like, just that hot feeling on your thighs, like, and they're trying to turn pedals. It's just like, I don't know about it, man. It gets risky, you know? I will answer the last couple of questions. Hit me with the last couple of good questions, and I'm going to cruise. No questions? Great question. How was my expectation versus the reality? All right, this is my last one. Your diet. I mean, the diet was. I did my best and I got my hands. I could get my hands on. I mean, there's nothing sexy about it. I mean, there's nothing sexy about chips, lollies, and drinks. You know, sandwiches when I could get sandwiches, hot food when I could get hot food. I mean, it's just, that's all it is. Dulcie, what's going on, mate? Shout out to you, Harry, bro. I wish you came earlier, but I'm about to go out. My expectation versus reality is it was constantly either met or exceeded it in terms of, you know, I thought some bits would be harder than what they were. You know, like the first few days wasn't that hard for me relative to the whole experience. But I thought the nullable would be harder, mentally at least. It definitely was challenging with the headwind and the long stints. But yeah, so it was just either getting exceeded or I knew it'd be challenging, but there was times where it was more challenging than what I thought it would be, for sure. And the hardest bit is not knowing how challenging it is, because you've never done something like this before. I mean, at least if I did it again, I would know, like, I would have a kind of gauge and be like, oh, this is pretty challenging, but I felt this level of challenge before. It was hard at times because, like, you're kind of looking around when it's so challenging, thinking, like, you want to look to your right-hand side and see someone who's done this before and go, is this how it's meant to feel, dude? So it's hard when you look into your right-hand side and there's no one there to talk to you and you're trying to work out whether or not it's meant to be this challenging. You know, I had points, man, where I was moaning. I don't moan, bro. You know, my thing is like try and keep composure at all costs. But I had points where that went all out the fucking window. Literally all out the window. Where I was like, you know, I was moaning some bits, dude. Completely moaning. I don't moan, man, but I was moaning. And I was like, close to the limit, dude. Close. Like, it was brutal. Excitingly brutal, but I was all over the place. I can only speak for myself. I don't know if anyone else is moaning and like that, but, you know, it feels like you're digging your own grave, dude, when you're moaning like that. But it was cool, man. I mean, did I back the watts off when it happened? Not really. I mean, the fucked up thing about it is when it gets hard, you go harder. Like, I mean, in the sense that when you're tired, like, I can't do this whole tired. When I'm tired, man, I can't ride cruisy. Maybe the first few days when you're tired, you can be cruisy because you're full of energy. But for me, if I'm getting fatigued, the easier, and you're so tired from all this riding, like, the easiest way to maintain a level of focus is just to kind of cheat yourself into that realm of focus is by pushing yourself physically. So it's kind of like counterintuitive, but what would wake me up and keep me alive in terms of keep going would be like those bits when you're moaning and you're struggling to keep going and it's just like, I got to hit this for another 3 minutes to just like pull myself up. You know, so it kind of looks crazy because you'd be so like all over the place, and then you're just like, no, I'm gonna push harder now. And sometimes the response is, I'm more awake now. Like the body's just switched like into fight or flight, you know? You know, so I had plenty of times, man, where like I'd be thinking like, my next stop is in 100 kilometers. And like you're feeling so tired and you still have 70 kilometers to go, but for some reason you assume some sort of like TT, you know, like you assume like a TT. You literally assume like a time trial. And, you know, like you don't even think about if you can hold it because it's stupid to think about if you can hold the pace. If you can't hold the pace, you just stop holding the pace, you know, like that's it. So you're not really worrying, sitting there thinking like, am I going to be able to hold this for 2 hours, 70 kilometers or whatever speed you're doing, you just hold it. And then if you can't hold it, you back off. And then as soon as you feel like you're dipping again, you hit it again, you know? So that really helps me. And it was nice to be in some situations where, you know, I had a few situations that were critical, like in terms of making a stop. Like I remember on the second day I had to make a stop. I'd have like 40 kilometers or something left, and I'd only have, you know, an hour and something to make these 40 kilometers up, you know, like an hour and 40 minutes or something to make these 40 kilometers up, you know, and it's just an exciting feeling, like just going for it, you know. So yeah, I kind of got, yeah, if I was going to say scared, like, yeah, the bits I would feel a bit more scared is if I wasn't going to make a opening hour, you know. But I don't know if it's luck, or I don't like to use the word luck because there's no real luck in it. It's just positioning. It's just positioning and choices. But you know, I was good, man. Like, you know, I was in the position where, like, I never really was going to miss anything major. There was definitely bits where I had to work to make the stops, but there was never a moment that I missed a stop. I missed an opening hour at all. I mean, there was points where I had to go at least 200 k's with nothing. But luckily, before those stints, I had something to eat. Just need a harder race next time. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing, man. Well, it's as hard as you make it. But, you know, I mean, that's the problem with the challenge, You're always trying to exceed it. But you can find a challenge in anything, man. There's always a challenge. What's the number one tip you'd give someone if they're considering doing the race next year? Number one tip? I mean, it's just don't be too locked into what to expect. I mean, don't be so... What I'm trying to say is that a lot of the time your expectations are crushed. And if you can't accept that, it becomes very hard to keep going. So just be ready for what you think to happen to not happen. On either side of that. You know, so just be prepared for that. And all you have to do is just do your best in a given situation. I mean, if your goal is to finish, all you have to do is keep riding. You don't have to keep riding quickly. You don't have to keep riding at any sort of speed. My number one thing if someone's going to do is I'll tell them is that make sure your goal is just to finish. It's not to finish first. It's not to finish 10th. It's not to crack the top 5. These are all sub little things that if they come out of it, I mean, that's cool. If you win, that's cool, but it's not the goal. The goal is to finish. And to experience everything in between that start line and that finish line. And like I said, a lot of the time it doesn't end up being how you thought it would be. So you have to be okay with that. And that's really it. Just be prepared for that. You can't really be prepared for it until it happens, but just be conscious of it that there's going to be moments that either exceed or not exceed your expectation. All right, last question. Were you aware of how close you were to beating the windstorm just outside of Adelaide? I wasn't. My friend called me, shouts to Tamas, he's like the wind guru. He talked to me like 3 days before I got to Adelaide. He's like, you need to get to Adelaide. You need to be leaving Adelaide on the weekend. I forgot what day I left Adelaide. I think I might have left Adelaide on Monday or something. I was out of Adelaide. But he was like, you need to be out of there because the wind's going to get real fucked up. And I was like, you know, my schedule had already put me leaving Adelaide at that time. But I wouldn't have changed it anyway. Like, I would have just done my distances. But, you know, I remember there was this one day I left Adelaide and he was like, you're going to have a tailwind. So I was like, this is cool. I'm going to have a tailwind. I was pretty tired, so I was excited to have this tailwind coming out of the cool run. I didn't really have a tailwind. I had like a crosswind. It wasn't that bad. I was still maintaining decent speed. It was definitely a challenging day. But I went from Murray Bridge to Portland. It was about 530 kilometers. You know, a 530 kilometer ride. It was definitely hard. And I was definitely tired. But he called me at the end of that thing and we were talking on the phone. And he was like, dude, you're lucky. He's like, if you get to Portland tonight, you'll be all good, because when you wake up, there's extreme weather warning. There's an extreme weather warning for a tailwind that's going to push you through the Great Ocean Road. And man, I remember I got to Portland, the sun had came up. You got to remember, dude, you got to remember this. Like, it's bizarre when you see the sun come up. I saw the sun. I left Murray Bridge at like 4 a.m. I saw the sun come up. Okay. Then on the ride to Portland, I see the sun come down. When I get to Portland, the sun's coming up again. So you've seen the sun go up, the sun go down, the sun come up. I get my food, I go back to my hotel room. It's like 7 o'clock or something in the morning. 2 hours later, after I probably got 2 hours sleep, 2.5, maybe 3 hours sleep, I forgot, right? And that whole day I was thinking in my head, like, I'm gonna have 4 hours of sleep today, because I felt like the sleep had knocked off my performance a notch. So I was like, sleep 1 more hour, it's not a big deal. It's like, you need to sleep 1 more hour. And then I had this girl knocking on my window, and she was like, the cleaner. And I'm thinking, fuck man, the cleaner's here. It's like I want to sleep more. I told her, I was like, yeah, give me a minute. She came back, she knocked, and I was like, all right, give me 5 minutes. I was like naked in bed, food all over the place. I looked like a pig. And I remember waking up feeling so tired, man. So tired, bro. So, like, I was heinously tired. Probably the most tired I had felt the whole time up until that point. So I remember putting my shoes on and just thinking, all right, get to the gas station. I started riding. There's no gas stations in Portland, man. I had missed all of them. So I kept riding. And eventually I found a gas station off the route. I got to that gas station, drank some coffee, had heaps of lollies, I had some fruit, I had some juice. I really filled up, man. You know, just in the hope that filling up would kind of lift me a little bit. It kind of did. And then my mate messaged me. He was like, the wind is crazy today. The wind is... Shouts to Fitness First Pain in me. I'll never forget that, Jim. It's good life now, brother. But we still call it Fitness First. It'll always be Fitness First, eh? My mum goes there now. And then, you know, like, I remember just pedaling, dude, and then I had this heinous tailwind. I had the most heinous tailwind all the way from Warrnambool. I would say from Warrnambool to Apollo Bay. I had a heinous tailwind. It was blowing me over some of those mountains, dude. Blowing me. Like, I remember going from Portland to Warrnambool. I mean, there was bits, dude, where I was doing like 46 k's an hour, 45 k's an hour. And I'm like, you got to remember, I'm putting out minimal power, tired as. I was extremely tired. So I'm not putting out, I'm basically just sitting there doing 40 k's an hour, 45 k's an hour. It was blissful, dude. You know, I didn't really realize how powerful this tailwind was until, you know, I missed a turn. I missed a turn coming out of Warrnambool, going towards Port Campbell. I missed a turn. I had to turn around 100 meters and go the opposite direction to make the turn. Dude, these 100 meters I had to do into the headwind. Like, if I had to go into that headwind, I literally would have maybe been able to do 100 k's for the whole day. You know, so it was so powerful that when I was turning, like kind of going into it, but turning and going into the tailwind, like I was like really nervous that I was going to get blown off my bike. Like, I was doing these ones like turning and getting blown, and I was just like, shit, dude, I'm gonna come off. You know, so it was brutal in that sense. But I mean, it was cool, man. And then I bet, you know, still, you can say that's luck, but it's not really luck. You know, like, you have to make the position at the correct time. If you don't make the position, then you're unlucky. You know, then you're unlucky. If you make the position, then you're lucky. But, you know, being lucky is just a combination of just choices that you've made every single day to be in those places at those moments at those times. Do you know? So there really is no luck. I mean, obviously there is luck, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, if I had slept in 7 more hours, if I slept in 8 more hours, averaged over those days leading into it, I wouldn't have made it. I would have got stuck with a headwind, and it would have been terrible. And things would have turned out differently. So, but still, bro, even when you have a tailwind, you're still riding for all those hours. It's not like the hours, I mean, it's kind of uplifting because you think, oh, I'm going so far or whatever. But the reality of being on your bike for that amount of hours is still there. You're still going to get tired. You're still putting out a heinous amount of physical work. So you don't really end up caring about the wind too much because it's the same. It's the same. It's like you're still going to be on the bike for 15 plus 16 hours a day. You know, I still got buck tired on the way to Melbourne, dude. I had to sleep in Lawn, you know, at the bus stop. Anyone who knows that Lawn bus stop just outside, I still had to sleep there. I was still tired, you know. And it was, I remember, dude, you know, stopping in Apollo Bay. I mean, it was freezing, dude. It was freezing. I remember sitting there. I was talking to this girl called Bernadetta. I mean, she's a beautiful lady, so sweet. You know what I mean? She brought me chocolate. She was amazing. And it just started raining, and I was looking at this girl like she's my mum. Like I want to cry. Like I was looking at this rain. Like I got to ride into this rain right now, dude. You know what I mean? But that's just the reality of it. Sometimes it's just cold and wet, and you still got to keep going, man. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. I mean, that's part 2. There's only one more part coming until I get over talking. But shouts to all of you. Thank you for another productive live stream. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna go train now. I appreciate all of you. If you enjoyed it, tune in for the last part, and then I promise I'll stop talking. It's just nice to talk. But I hope you all have a great day. And I'll probably see you in 2 days' time. I'm going to leave this up so you can do what you want with it. Ciao.